Today's story that matters is a novel by Nick Hornby called High Fidelity. You may have heard about it. You may have read it. You may have seen the movie with John Cusack. It is a story about a 20 something music snob, kind of big city guy who works at a record store, bit of a slacker, very much of a Gen X kind of movie and vibe. And it's just about him dealing with his live-in girlfriend dumping him, and later he finds out she dumps him for a guy that is incredibly annoying, and it's him trying to just get over the painful breakup. Now, why is this a story that matters? There's no life and death survival, at least nothing obvious going on with it. Well, to answer this question, I'll just tell the story of me reading the novel. Um, it was many years ago, and I was just going through a breakup, and it was just one of those things where I was feeling sorry for myself. I was having a hard time getting over it, and I was no fun to anybody, especially myself. And I was just looking for any kind of relief. And I found this novel, and it just seemed like it was a kind of a book that was written about my life in a way. I was sort of a guy like him, underemployed, overeducated, sort of a city guy, have all these high tastes, but they didn't really pay out in any real way. Um, so I read the book, and it was just very funny. And what was funny is that what it told me, at least, was that my problems were not unique to me, that I was not alone, and that it didn't really matter in the long run, that life was gonna go on, that, I was a small speck in the universe, and what it told me to do is to laugh at myself. And even though you would think that reading a story about a heartbreak when you're heartbroken would make things worse, it was the opposite. It made them better. Now, how is this survival information? Well, some people actually do fail to grieve, to get over it. I heard about this. It's a psychological phenomenon, like persistent grief or something like that. And people ruins their whole life. They just don't process the problems, that the loss that they experience. Most of us probably do, even without telling a story like this, I suppose. And I think even if I hadn't read this book, I would have eventually gotten over it. But ultimately, when we do get over our problems, I do think there's an acceptance that, we're not the first one to have gone through this. And certainly, High Fidelity helped me get through my pain a lot quicker than I would have otherwise. And so stories that matter don't have to be about literal life and death. Um, they can be more about just surviving the regular old slings and arrows of outrageous fortune that we all have to deal with, like occasionally getting dumped by somebody,